All right, so Christianity and war. Um, I had a much longer explanation for this, but I'm afraid that my voice is not going to keep, so I'm going to do the best that I can. I haven't been posting recently because I've been sick since Friday. I've been fighting the flu, and so this is really the first day that I felt like doing something other than being a big lump on my couch. I'm feeling better, but anyway, so Christianity and war. Yeah, it's always been contradictory. Um, and usually there's many religious people, Christian people will point to examples in the Bible where God uses violence. They'll look at Sodom and Gomorrah, they'll look at the Wall of Jericho, they'll use different things, examples of God using war as a divine instrument. And they have used that as a justification for violence for centuries. Going back to for centuries. I don't even have my head enough together to come up with examples, but the Inquisition, for example, the Crusades, and those are just Catholic examples, but there are examples in Protestant tradition too. The Mormons, their history is full of violence. The early years in Utah where they basically killed everyone who wasn't a Mormon, and they did it out of divine edict, and they could point to things in text to justify that. Not only in the book, I haven't seen that South Park where they're making fun of the book of Mormonism. You really should check it out. But also within the Holy Bible, which they believe the Book of Mormon is an extension of. So, violence has always been a part of Christianity because at the foundation of Christianity is this issue of control. It has to do with power. War always has to do with power. And I like what you said, Bella, about that it always begins with two idiots. That's pretty true. I've found in my experience in paying attention and in my readings in history, it always begins with a couple of idiots. Every war is essentially an overblown, overly violent bar brawl that probably could have been solved over a couple of beers and a handshake. I mean, really, think about it. Think about how much different the world would be if, instead of funding Osama bin Laden against the Soviets and then ditching him when it became politically inexpedient for us to do so, George Bush sat down with his old buddy, Osama, because they have family ties. And he says, Osama, buddy, why don't we just have a few beers, play some pool, shoot some hoops, and we'll forget all about, this terrorism stuff. We'll be reasonable. And usually that's, that the world will look so much different today, don't you think? Even if George W. Bush was a Budweiser man, there's no accounting for taste. But imagine how different the world would be. However, ultimately it's about power. And so here's my solution. All violence is wrong. All violence. Now, I'm not a vegetarian. I don't have a problem with guns. I think that hunting is okay for survival. I think we need to understand what we're doing when we kill animals. And I think we should be judicious about it. I think we should be fair. And I think that if we're going to kill animals for food, that we should use what we kill. And I think part of doing that means, being respectful of their space, working with nature, doing those things that intelligent people do. That's my thoughts on that. And guns, I personally have a fondness for shotguns. Mostly because you can't fire them out of anger, and they're just a whole lot of fun. But I've never actually killed a thing. I've never killed an animal, accidentally or on purpose. So the problem becomes about power. This issue of power as it relates to religion, because religion has always been about power. about the accumulation of power than about the keeping of power. And so, when America wages war, and there are people here who believe that God is on their side, that really has nothing to do with religion. And as much as issue I have with organized religion, organized religions that claim as a part of their politics that warfare is legitimate, are not interested in any God in any form. They're interested in maintaining power and maintaining control and affluence. And for people to say otherwise, they're being hopelessly naive. They want to say that we were attacked, and we were, but Iraq did not attack us. Technically, Afghanistan did not attack us. Bin Laden did, and he's still out there. And I'm still not convinced that any of the wars that we're currently engaged in, or that we will become engaged in very soon, I wouldn't be surprised if we marched into Iran very quickly soon, because we don't like them either, has nothing to do with us being attacked. And it's all about maintaining our power, our influence, our interests. And the economy's in recession. The dollar is tanking in markets all over the world. Oil is at $109 a barrel. They're saying that we might be at $4 a gallon by the end of the summer, which for people who drive big SUVs and shit, that's fine for them. But for those of us who have to live on an income because we work and we live paycheck to paycheck, it's going to bite, and we're going to have to tighten up somewhere else. So Christianity and war. It all goes back to the fact that Christianity makes people hypocrites, whether knowing or unknowing. They become hypocrites because you can't preach peace and love and then advocate for war. Jesus, and anything that I've read, and I'm not saying that I'm a Jesus follower, because I'll be honest, I'm not. I can't separate Jesus from Christianity. I have real difficulty doing that. But nothing he said at all advocates war. Quite to the contrary. Now, there was that one example with the money changers in the temple, but that wasn't war. That was kind of like a righteous rant, I think. And the problem is that no one does that anymore, because that's the fundamental truth about organized religion. There have always been moneylenders in the temple. There will always be moneylenders in the temple. It will always be about accumulating numbers of followers and numbers of pocketbooks and building megachurches and maintaining television and radio stations and preaching hate and homophobia and racism and classism. The prosperity gospel, for example, is a recent twist in which the reason that people are poor is because they're not doing what God says. You believe that one? We're poor and it's our fault. Blaming the victim. Gotta love it. So, I feel like I'm rambling and I think it's because I'm still sick and I'm still a little foggy-headed. But, so here's the thing. I think that we should agree that war is bad. War is always bad. Agreements over beer and a handshake are always better. And that flies are more important to us than politicians, because flies actually serve a function in nature. And politicians are sort of antithetical to that. So let's save all the flies and kill all the politicians. What do you say? Hopefully I'll feel better soon and my voice will return to its usual monotone blandness. Bye.